Hello everyone, Mark Heck coming to you from Costa Rica. I thought I'd talk about roads today, why they get built and why they get unbuilt. Most people think roads are built to move people from A to B, but it's better to think of roads for what they actually are. They are a business expense that has to be justified by the economic activity it generates. There are exceptions to this, of course. Some roads are built for national unity projects or maybe border security or just plain old vanity. But most of the time we can think of roads as a business expense. I'll give you an example from today. I traveled between two towns via what's known as the Jeep Boat Jeep Tour here in Costa Rica. It used to be that the road between a place called La Fortuna and a place called Monteverde was really rough, and it went all the way around a large lake of some 100 plus kilometers. It was a rough, long haul. The distance, as the crow flies, however, was very short. But the government wasn't going to upgrade anything because there wasn't an economic case to do so. It was just an isolated mountainous area with a few insignificant villages. But tourists started showing up in the 1980s and 1990s, and they wanted to get between the two towns faster, and they were willing to pay for it. So the government did a feasibility study, as all good, responsible governments do, and found that the upgrading of the road still wasn't going to make financial sense. Not enough tourists were coming yet to pay for the infrastructure. So they continued to do nothing, which was absolutely the right decision. But individuals and private businesses figured they could make a profit by transporting tourists with jeeps on rough roads. They could boat them across the lake and then pick them up on the other side, again with jeeps on rough roads, and get them to their destination. And it worked. The private businesses made money. And then more tourists began to show up. The numbers started to make sense and the government upgraded the road. Now buses, not just four-wheel off-road vehicles, could easily drive the road to the lake. The few jeeps became many buses and the boats zip back and forth across the lake twice a day now. What's interesting to realize is that if the tourists went away, the road would also go away. The road would no longer be a viable business expense for the government, and they'd stop maintaining it. The road would deteriorate and eventually be usable only by off-road vehicles again. The thing is, this is not unusual. This is pretty much how it works everywhere. This is how almost all roads are built and unbuilt. Good, responsible governments look at roads as a business expense. If it doesn't pay, it doesn't get built. Bad governments unfortunately build roads for all sorts of bad reasons, most that will eventually bankrupt the citizens. But otherwise, if there's no business case for a road, it will disappear, or it at least will be downgraded to probably a cheaper gravel road. Canada, by the way, has 1.13 million kilometers of two-lane equivalent public roads, 60% of which are unpaved gravel roads. As governments, especially in Canada, have to tighten their fiscal belts in the future and get back to basics, we can probably expect more gravel roads as the paved roads are torn up and converted to the cheaper to maintain gravel roads. And we can also expect many roads to be abandoned altogether. Now here in Costa Rica, that'll happen one day as well, but only when the tourists stop coming. And who knows when that is. But the lesson for all of us is that it's best to think about roads not as something the government should build so you can get from A to B faster. It's best to think of them as a business expense that is constantly being justified, and then you'll understand why governments do or don't build or maintain that road that everyone keeps complaining about.